Inside Sources.
Inside Sources.
America's voice of reason. Boyd Matheson.
On Utah's home for elevated conversation.
Inside Sources on KSL News Radio.
Well, the national headlines are filled with stories of uncertainty, inflation, war, another presidential election. In Utah, of course, we have historic drought, housing shortages, high prices, but underneath all of those headlines, there's an army of leaders that are working together to solve problems and make this state the best place to work, live, raise a family. Let's get past the headlines. Let's begin.
Think you know the news of the day? Think again with Boyd Matheson on KSL News Radio.
We're broadcasting live today from Utah Valley University, the Utah Valley Growth and Prosperity Summit. Utah, of course, is growing. Over the last 3 years, people from across the country have figured out the secret. They've chosen to uproot their lives and make a home for themselves in the Beehive State, and nowhere is growing faster than Utah Valley. Leaders of corporate, government, education, nonprofit organizations are all here today as part of this summit to address the challenges in the region and identify opportunities for growth and collaboration. Over the next 2 hours, we're going to be chatting with all kinds of leaders, influencers, insiders, from university folks to business folks, community, talking about the important things that make a difference here in Utah Valley. And we're going to kick it off with a bang. This is year number 3 that we've been here. Year number 3 of the conference. Curtis Blair, of course, is the president and CEO of the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce. And Curtis, another big event, seems to be off to a rip-roaring start.
We did. We really came out of the gate strong with rich content and a lot of value-add conversation about growth and prosperity.
Yeah. And so as you look at that and give us kind of the broad brush in terms of this conference, in terms of the gathering, what's the there for what? What do you hope everybody walks away with today?
Great question. You mentioned it's our 3rd annual Growth and Prosperity Summit. It really does call upon the partnerships that have developed some plans and strategies around how we grow. Our partnerships with Envision Utah, Utah Foundation, Kim C. Gardner Institute, Wasatch Choice, and others that have really helped us kind of get our arms around what data is available and match that with our desires for how we grow our county. We have one chance to get it right.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you're talking about getting it right now. So many places across the country, it's always a reactionary process. Growth happens or growth declines. This is one of those real strategic opportunities to really get it done right. And so tell me some of the conversations that are happening today. What are the big issues that you're tackling with everybody assembled here at Utah Valley University?
Yes, thank you. So we have 7 pillars of growth and prosperity, and they're really critical for really the quality of life to be maintained and preserved, which is really what we're all about.
Yeah.
We hope that everyone today comes away with 1 or 2 ideas about what they can do to manage the stewardship that we have over growth and prosperity. So we have breakouts about housing and transportation infrastructure, education, workforce development. We're looking at business environment. We're looking at healthcare. All of these issues really do work with each other, and there's stresses on each of those systems right now. And so with a methodical approach, getting our leadership together, not only in the chamber, but as you mentioned, civic and legislators, and even our block neighborhood presidents and PTA presidents, homeowners and renters alike, are talking about, all right, here are the pains that we're feeling. What is the outlook?
Yeah.
And so we have thought leaders here, subject matter experts, talking about each of those pillars, and hopefully we can come away with 1 or 2 ideas that we can implement in the coming 365 days. So that if we're lucky enough to have you back in our 4th year, we'll talk about the implementation of those strategies.
Yeah. Oh, I love that. And to me, this is this particular summit is the Utah model at its best. It's bringing in not just blue sky, shoot the moon possibility stuff. We love to talk about that. But you also bring in the data. You bring in the subject matter experts. And so drill into some of those for us, whether it's workforce, whether it's just dealing with the growth and what the pressures that it creates on the county.
You bet, because what's interesting is we've had dialogues here today. It seems like we're all doing pretty well in the spirit of collaboration, and we do want to work together and make things happen. But then I'll travel to city council meetings just in throughout the Wasatch Front, and we're hearing a different rhetoric there, and it doesn't quite match with what we're hearing from as we get together and talk about what those challenges really are. And I think this is the key. If we look long term, I think we all have a better chance of being on the same page. If we're looking 20, 30, 40 years down the road, we seem to be on the same, sheet of music.
Yeah.
But when we say, well, what's going to happen in 2 years or 18 months? What's happening in my backyard? Now you get those differences of opinion. And so this summit is to say, all right, we need to look at short, medium, and long-term goals. You might recall in year 1 we did the compact,
right,
outlined the principles. Year 2 we introduced the metrics of success. Year 3 this year, it is what can I do to help move the needle in a positive direction.
Oh, I love that. And I love that approach. And I love that you've framed this whole Growth and Prosperity Summit here in Utah Valley around this idea of stewardship. And starting with the principles. That's the way we always like to frame it on this show, is what are the principles first, then what are the metrics that we're going to measure, and now what can I do about it? And so give us one of those areas of application that you've been looking at, that some of the conversations have been today.
It's as if you saw the agenda, because our next presentation is about 4 areas of positivity in the way that they've interpreted the growth and prosperity for their county. So we have Holbrook Farms up in Lehigh that we're going to highlight this afternoon. We have the University Place Mall in Orem, and all of the BRT and transit that surrounds that connects local business with residents there. And then we're going to highlight some examples of positive growth down in Spanish Fork and what they're doing to preserve open space. So there's 3 examples right there of cities that are working together and working within their residents and city council to deploy these principles.
Yeah, such a powerful thing. And if you're just joining us, we're down here at Utah Valley University. It's the Utah Valley Growth and Prosperity Summit. We've got Curtis Blair, President and CEO of the Utah Valley Chamber, with us right now. And one of the things that I love about these kinds of conferences, we always talk about it in terms of the bumpability factor and who you bump into. Governor Gary Herbert just went cruising by. But you've got so many different leaders from all the different aspects. And I love that the Chamber is being the convener and bringing all of those groups together, because they can all get in their own silos really fast. And sometimes even the business community can get a little siloed off. And so I love you bringing everybody together, because if this is going to be done right, as you said, this is a once-in-a-generation shot. It's going to take everybody being interconnected.
Yeah, not any one of us is smarter than all of us if we just get together and work towards a common goal. And I feel like that's what is one of the aims of the summit, is to say what really matters and how are we going to grow, because how we grow matters.
Yeah.
And, I love my kids. I hope they can but it's my grandkids, too, that I want to have live.
They're the ones that are really important anyway.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, we're looking at generational impact here at this summit.
Yeah, no question about it. And before I let you go and get back into the flow of it all, give us one thing that you're looking at as where's one of those pressure points, one of those challenges that you hope, hey, I hope we spark a conversation today that we can get at that.
Well, I would love to have a game plan for how we're going to handle our housing crisis. It's crazy that only 6 states are more expensive right now in terms of median home value, and that only 15% of dual income families right now can afford a moderate mortgage.
Yeah.
And so we've got to get our arms around that. It's not something that's going to be solved quickly. It's not something that's going to be done in Utah County. It's going to be a regional, state-to-state, federal kind of initiative. And I've heard some wonderful ideas today about how our state is approaching that conversation. And it is going to start with really breaking down some of our barriers and preconceived notions about that we only should have quarter-acre size lots with single-family homes. We're going to have to get past that conversation to really begin to solve the housing crisis.
Yeah, and I love that across the board, as you look through the agenda for the day, everything is what we do in this first segment on our show every day, and that's the think again moment of we think we know what we think about something, or we think we have the solution to something, but when you bring people together and they stay curious, which is part of the way I think the Chamber brings people together, is let's stay curious. Why do they think that's a good idea? Why is this the best approach? I think that's why this summit's working and really having a big impact here in Utah Valley. Curtis Blair is the CEO and president of the Utah Valley Chamber of Commerce. And Curtis, thanks so much for joining us, and we appreciate you being here. And we're really glad to be here at Utah Valley University as we think again about Utah Valley. It's the Growth and Prosperity Summit, and we're going to continue. We're going to broadcast the entire show from down here today. A lot of extraordinary conversations. In fact, coming up next, we're going to be joined by Cameron Martin from Rocky Mountain University, part of the solution to a lot of the things we're looking at. So stay with us. Much more to come on Inside Sources here on KSL News Radio.